Farrell.
Thank you for coming, guys.
Had a little entry music there. That was cool. So, Terry, we've done a lot of these with you over the past few years, and frankly, a lot of the questions we've asked so many times that you're probably dead bored for answering them.
Oh, after 30 years, I'm not bored. I know. Definitely not bored.
I thought that we would take a step back and talk about your early years growing up and the things that influenced you and excited you and made you want to leave your hometown as soon as you could. You grew up in Cedar Rapids, Iowa,
Yes, I did.
which I'm very familiar with because my grandfather was born there in 1898.
Wow.
And so our
You look great for your age.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
And so we would visit Cedar Rapids occasionally and have the amazing Made Right sandwiches, which are located there and pretty much nowhere else.
Yes.
But I have, very strange memories of that because we would go visit old relatives. And it's a very nice thing, but it's also a little bit confusing for people who you've never seen in your life before.
Yes, I understand.
And it's a very small town for being a big town in Iowa.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about how you first grew up there and what your life was like amongst the corn.
Oh my gosh. If I start, I don't know where to start. Well, in elementary school, and it was the second one I went to. They tried to put me in when my birthday's in November, and they tried to put me in when I was 4, but my mother and father got divorced, and he left when I was 4, so I think I was a little traumatized. So they took me back out, because it was too scary for me. I mean, I was 4. Who's ready for kindergarten at 4?
That's a preschool
Yeah.
age, yeah.
Yeah, in the 60s.
Yeah.
Anyway, free babysitting.
Yeah, right.
So, but we moved, and my first elementary school was Wright School, and we lived at Parktown Place, apartment buildings, and we used to play Star Trek at recess. And I was the tallest girl in school, and actually I remained the tallest until I went to high school, which was actually, so it was like, oh my God, boys are finally taller than me. It was so great. But the shortest kid in school played Captain Kirk. And,
Funny guy.
Yeah, right? And I was always the alien from another planet. And of course, because it was the 60s, I too wanted to look like a stripper. Because it was the 60s, right? And didn't they all look that way? It was like, everything was so sexed up then. It was crazy time.
Yeah,
Not that it isn't now,
but it
but
isn't
I
now.
mean, yeah.
But the attitude was much different
Yeah.
than now. I mean, it wasn't really sexed up. It was just kind of the way it was,
Yeah.
And people
Yeah.
didn't consider it, strange or bawdy or anything like that. It was
No.
just, oh well, yeah, there she is, and that's great.
Yeah, and it's cute.
Yeah.
And,
Did you cosplay at all? Or did you dress
Oh.
up in costumes, I should say?
no, not in school.
No.
That would have been weird. But at Halloween, I always wanted to be a vampire. Always. I loved Dark Shadows. That was my favorite show. Right? So bizarre. And of course, Morticia from the Addams Family. All of that. I wanted to be that. Mm-hmm.
Tish, that's French.
I don't speak French. I can count in French.
Well, see, that's enough.
I said, yeah. Does it matter? It's just like, un, deux, trois.
Okay, you need to stop.
Okay, sorry. Où est la toilette? Good times. Good times.
So you enjoyed, you enjoyed the darker side of entertainment.
I sure did. Yeah.
And how do you think that happened? Was it because it was a little naughty, maybe? Or it was
I don't,
something that other kids didn't necessarily gravitate to?
maybe, I don't know. That's interesting, isn't it? I don't, maybe the monsters in the movies and television aren't as scary as the monsters in real life.
Right. Right.
That's probably true. Not that I want to delve into any of that right now, but yeah, yeah. And
So
it's like pretend though too.
right.
I mean, I never
It's a
turned
safe,
into
it's a
goth
safe
kid or
way to
anything.
deal with those characters.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I love roller coasters,
mhm.
but you assume you're going to be safe, so it's okay to be terrified because you.
Right.
Well, now when we see accidents, it's like I'm not getting on a roller coaster again. No,
Well, it's okay.
it's okay. I don't have to.
You don't have to.
No.
So as you got older and you got into high school and began seeing people your height again,
Yes.
um,
And I stopped feeling adopted. There was
Right.
that. I had to go through that.
right?
Because when my father left, he was 6'3.5", but I was left with my mother's tiny side of the family. Yeah.
It was like Snow White.
I was a freak of nature. It kind of was. It kind of was. And weirdly, my niece called me. When we talk about what princesses we wanted to be when they were little, they were like, but Aunt T's Snow White, because animals love me.
And you love animals.
I
That's the
do.
thing.
I do.
So they know.
They know. My birds love me. I don't have birds in the house like Nana has her beautiful parrot, who's scary, Luciano. But I put so much food out for my birds, and at first it was scary for them when I'd go outside. But I just sit there and I watch them, and once my dogs stop chasing them, now they sit on the fence. Seriously, sit on the fence, and I'm like, hi. Are you getting enough food? I'm so happy you're here.
We're friends.
Exactly.
Welcome to the feeding trough.
Yes.
So I'm assuming that you started to realize that people wanted to take your picture at some point.
Yes, well, mostly I got told that because I was tall, I should be a model. But otherwise, I was a late bloomer. It was sort of like I was this kind of, not nerdy, because it wasn't like I was off the charts smart, but kind of a geeky kid, super skinny, very tall. My mom would cut my hair super short. In 6th grade, I had like this Tony Tennille haircut, for those of you who know
Look
that.
it up.
Look it up. Thank you. And I would put my hair in my mouth, like, little 6th grade girls do. And I was so excited to finally have long hair. And I had this crush on this kid in my class, who also the bully girl who's way overdeveloped. She had a crush on him too.
Did he wear a captain's hat?
He had very curly hair. His name was Brett Burkhoff. And my mom said to me, you put your hair in your mouth one more time, I'm gonna cut it off.
That's a secret code that you didn't realize.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so it's an unconscious thing, that kind of thing. So I did it. I must have done it. I didn't remember doing it. She called me and she said, I need you over here. She had a hair salon in an apartment building. She took a two-bedroom apartment and turned it into a hair salon. So not fancy like y'all would think of, but yeah, it's Iowa in the 70s. So I go over and I have no idea. I think she's gonna ask me to clean or something. So it wasn't like I was excited, but I wasn't in fear either. But then she said, have a seat. And it was like, oh no. And all I was like, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. And she cut my ponytail off. And then she gave me a perm. And then I had an afro.
So you became Annie.
Yes. Only Brett Burkhoff called me the electrocuted string bean. Yes. Yes. And those days you ended up smelling like perm solution for a long time. So I smelled bad. And I was embarrassed, so I wore a hat. Kids would take the hat away, and then it looked worse than if I would have just left it alone. Yeah, not really confidence building. So I didn't think of myself as I'm going to be a model or anything like that. So in high school, when came up that maybe I really could be a model, a friend of mine in high school took pictures of me, and I couldn't believe that I looked so different to me in the picture than I looked to myself in the mirror. It was like, wow, I think I might be able to do this. So different little things happened. Like I thought to myself, there was a teen pageant program, and I went to it, and I said to the judges when I met with them the first time, all I care about is winning Miss Photogenic, because if I win that, then it gives me a reason to send my pictures to New York and see if I could find an agent. And at the time, Cosmopolitan magazine had like a New York directory, and it had modeling agents. So I sent my pictures, and the first time I sent it, remember in the 70s, my eyebrows were super plucked. And of course, my mom being really happy about perms, I still had a perm, so my hair, it was longer, but it was still permified. And they said, let your eyebrows grow out and then send us more pictures. Most of them said, you're too tall. Most of them. And at that time, I was probably 5'10". I'm 6 feet now. So when I sent the second round of photos when I was 16, I had my eyebrows and my hair was, I told my mom to leave me alone in a very, non-offensive way. And
No, that's okay.
exactly. And Gara Morris from Elite Model Management called me before school started my junior year, so I was 16, and said, I'd like to come see you, and if you look like your pictures, we want to sign you. Like that's still so real. Changed my life.
This is not the Garrett Morris from Saturday Night Live.
No. I was babysitting, so I don't know who that is. Yeah.
Yes, we talked about that. You missed a whole decade
I did.
of television.
I did. So she came and she said, I'm happy to tell you, look just like your pictures. And so my family and I drove out over Christmas, my junior year. By then I was 17. We did pictures, and my mom and aunt were there with me, and we drove my agent at the time. We gave her a lift into Boston, from New York to Boston, and then we went to my aunt's house in New Hampshire. But on the way, she's looking at the sheets. I can't think of what they're called now. It doesn't matter. You wouldn't know what I'm talking about anyway. Mm-hmm. So she's looking at the pictures of me, and she said, oh my God, you're gonna be a cover girl. And I had goosebumps over my entire body, and she wasn't exaggerating, and it was under her breath. And in 6 weeks, I had the cover of Mademoiselle magazine. This is starting in June. We're just gonna jump there. June 1981. I skipped my senior year of high school. When I knew that I was going to go to New York, I took a bunch of extra classes. So I really wanted to be prepared that if it didn't work out, I could go to community college. Did you
get your GED?
I did. Yeah, highest score at the time, because I wasn't dropping out.
Something to fall back on.
Exactly. Now, if they get minimum wage up, I'll have something to do when I retire. But I had the cover of, in that first month, I got the cover of the New York Times, Fashion of the Times, and the cover of the Washington Post, Fashion. Then I got the cover of Mademoiselle, and they signed me for I think it was like a year deal. And I was the fastest new faces model to move into the elite division, which is the top models.
No, that never happens.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. Yeah, it never happens. They send models to Europe, and John Casablancas was, you're not going to Europe, you're staying in America. Because I was, on this road that was, it's still surreal. I couldn't believe it.
Now, you mentioned that you couldn't believe that you looked like those photos from when you looked in the mirror. Did you have body dysmorphia?
I think I still do a little bit. You know, I think it's partly being raised by somebody who, product of their environment, always worried about their weight. If I gained a little weight, it was like, oh, you're gaining weight.
Yeah.
It's catching up. Yeah. So, not a, you know, it was also during the era of you could never be too rich or too thin.
Sure.
And it was really hard because I have a very athletic body, and even though I was skinny as a kid, as I grew into myself, I love sports and I loved running, and as you know, I love kickboxing and things like that.
Yeah, she kicked me yesterday.
I did. She deserved it.
No one can prove that.
No one can prove that. I have tape. So I would get these weird, like, okay, you have a note, you need to lose 4 pounds. Like,
4.
I shit you not.
Not 5.
4.
Not 5.
Yeah, 4.
Yeah. Wow.
At 6 feet tall.
And you did it, didn't you?
Well, at the time, yeah. But then there were times, you know, oh my word. So it's been a struggle for me, which is, I know, really irritating to people who have genuine struggles, but it's so psychologically messed up.
It's real because your brain is tricking you.
Yeah. Like even on
It's
Becker.
misleading you, yeah.
Even on Becker, the wardrobe lady was like, what's that? Like, I have one hip that's a little more round than the other, and I'm like, it's fat. Oh. And then a producer said to me, you know, you might want to start working out. The show's going to get a lot of attention. So I started working out. And I lost like 15 pounds.
And you might want to stop being an asshole.
Thank you. No, but I feel like that. Thank you. Yeah, they weren't terribly woke. But I started doing kickboxing and running and spinning, and I looked like an athlete. Like I had, I don't know, 10% body fat, like not much. Yeah.
That's insane.
Then they told me to gain weight. We're worried about you.
Yeah, right. What the hell do you want from me?
Exactly. And I was working with this actress on it, you know, like her name's Hattie Winston. She played the nurse. And she just thought I was crazy, right? Could you, oh, fuck you, Terry. And I'm like, honest to God, you don't understand. It's just like, because it is surreal. There's nothing wrong with you, but it does keep reinforcing that dysmorphia because it's just like when I lose weight, the shape of my body doesn't change. I don't know about you guys, not so much, but it gets smaller. It's just, it looks the same,
Yeah, you're
more or less.
proportional.
Yeah, exactly. And I am in proportion, so I don't look incredibly tall. So most of you are shocked when you meet me because, oh my God, you're so tall. Because my legs aren't super long and whatnot. Yeah. So it feels like a stupid thing to
It's a
have.
vicious circle.
Yeah, it's like an earworm.
To control you.
Don't eat that. You can eat that, and yeah.
And they keep,
It's so silly,
they
but
keep
it's a
poking
really nightmare.
at your one weakness.
Yeah.
And they know what it is.
Yeah.
And they do this for a living.
Yeah.
To control people.
Yeah.
And it's horrific.
It is horrific.
So,
And it's constant, so either you need to lose the 4 pounds, or you're too skinny, you've got to gain weight. And so it's this constant seesaw, there's never kind of an even. I love Bob Blackman. I had 3 suits. I had my after holidays suits, so I had my fat suit, which nobody would think is really fat, but I thought it was fat at the time.
it's got a skosh more.
Exactly. Probably 10 or 15 pounds that you don't notice so much. I know. But, oh, thank goodness I'm 6 feet tall. And my skinny suit, which means I wasn't eating much more than salad and, you know, a light beer, a Boca burger, and a little itty bitty bag of chips for dinner. Right? And I had my period suit. Yeah. So skinny, period, holiday.
Well, it's a very strange thing for performers to have to maintain this image that they have established.
Yeah.
And you have to stay that way, otherwise people will not recognize you, theoretically.
Theoretically.
Yeah. But it's all bullshit.
Yeah, but you know what? Bob Blackman never made
he
me feel
was-
bad about it. He was
good. Yeah,
he's
yeah,
a
yeah.
human being, a
Yeah.
normal human being. the other things made me feel bad. And what's weird is, to me, is I thought when I stopped modeling and started acting that it would go away. Like, well, you're an actor, you're just telling stories. Who cares if you're 5 or 10 pounds here or there? But
No, but it's worse.
yeah, because I got hired because I'm supposed to look like what you're supposed to want to look like. So that's kind of messed up.
I know how that is. I had to stop modeling.
Thank you for the extra work. If you didn't quit, I wouldn't have had to work.
No, I saw her at auditions all the time. I said, so when you got your first acting gig,
Yeah.
from being one of the most rising stars in modeling ever, how did that occur?
I read for a TV show. Sorry, I can't think of the name of the guy at ABC. It was so great to me. I went to ABC and I had an audition for a TV movie called Paper Dolls. And it was my first audition.
Not to be confused with Models Inc.
No, but, and a lot of people wouldn't even know about it because that was such a long time ago, in the early 80s. But at any rate, I didn't get the part, but they liked me. So ABC put me on a retainer. So I was already in acting class, but I got really much more serious about my acting class. And I took voice lessons because my voice was very high, which is not uncommon for girls that have been traumatized when they're young. My voice was super high.
Tightens up and
And you're like, you breathe from here on.
Yeah.
Obviously, I've recovered a lot. But yeah, I did all of that, and then there was the TV series of which Daryl Hannah played the Nicolette Sheridan part, and why would her name go out of my head? Oh, she was on Baywatch. Amanda? No.
She was dark-haired, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, forgive me for a minute. Anyway, so they didn't want to do the TV series. What I didn't realize was I was the only person that was being flown to Los Angeles to be tested for my part. Nicolette Sheridan had somebody else that she was testing, but I was actually a top model and a cover girl. Nicolette Sheridan was a starlet. She had a couple covers, but she wasn't she was a Los Angeles model, which those of us who are from New York and modeled in New York, Paris, Milan, those kinds of
And
things.
she hadn't done the sure thing yet, or had she?
I don't know. I don't remember. But, she was an actress.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was so nervous I couldn't move my neck in the audition, not realizing I was the only person reading for it. So it was very much the character in that sense, even though career-wise, I already had the success of being a model for 3 years. But it was a fantastic experience.
Oh, that.
It really was.
Yeah, it's very whirlwind.
Yeah. John Pennant Perry played my dad, and he said, "My son is a little too young for you, Matthew Perry. Otherwise, I'd set you up with him." I know.
He wasn't too young at all.
Not as we got older, but I was 20 playing 16, and when I turned 21, they were like, "We have to have you turn 17. I'm like, okay, but it's kind of great because a lot of people think I'm younger than I am too. That's like sort of, really? But of course you do, because
You're in your 30s now, aren't you?
Exactly. Thank you. I love you, Darren.
Yeah, so you had the audition for that, and what happened? I mean,
It only went for 13 episodes.
and then that was it, and then
And
you
then
learned
that
an
was it.
important lesson.
Yeah.
Don't count your chickens.
No, but you know what? There was a guy. There was another TV series being shot there besides. What was the one with Sybil Shepherd and Bruce Willis? Thank you. That was being shot there, and people are saying mean things about her because she was breastfeeding her children on the set, which is like, what the heck? I breastfed Max 3.5 years. I know he doesn't like to hear that now, but I'm pretty proud of it. I'm pretty proud of it, right? Gates, breastfed too. I mean, like, what else? I mean, they're there to attract you guys, and then they're also there to actually feed your children.
Oh,
I know, or babies, sorry,
right.
babies.
Yes.
And there was another series there. I can't remember the guy. He was, I think, in Blue Lagoon with Brooke Shields. I can't think of his name.
Atkins.
Yes. Okay, he was doing another series there. I don't remember what it was, but he came out with like a Ferrari or Lamborghini or something. It was like, and so
Chris Atkins.
Chris Atkins. And people were like, don't do what he's doing. Don't spend your money until you've been picked
Was
up.
that Charles in charge?
I don't know. Was it? Did he get fired from it?
I don't know.
Okay, he got let
I'm wrong. I'm
go
probably wrong.
or fired, and he had to take the car back. And I was like,
Oh.
oh no. I used my pilot money and only my pilot money to buy a car for cash, which I got berated by my parents for that I bought it for cash. And I was like,
I don't have any payments.
right?
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. Didn't work out great when you buy your first house though, and they're like, do you have a line of credit? And I'm like,
Yeah.
Why-
A what?
why would I borrow money if I can pay for it? I never understood that.
It's a scam.
It is a
It's the
scam.
same thing that the producers do to keep you in control. It's exactly the same thing.
Exactly the same thing. So anyway, I bought a car I could afford. Yeah. And then we got canceled after 13. And then I did an independent movie called Off the Mark out in the Malibu Hills. And it was one of those crazy, I had like a salad with Russian dressing, and then they rolled in, is it Billy Barty? He was one of the Munchkins.
Right.
And he's dressing. So it was one of those crazy
He
comedies.
played the dressing?
A Russian dressing. I like a little Russian dressing.
Wow.
I know.
That's awesome.
Well, I know, right? Well, it was the early 80s, so nobody was woke. So it's like back to school, come on. It just is what it is.
So, speaking of back to school,
Yes.
that couldn't have happened much long after that. Were you bopping around for a year or so, and then?
Yeah, I did. I kind of all at the same time. I'd have to look at it exactly, but I did Back to School. I did a TV movie with Faye Dunaway, Robin Givens, Aykroyd's wife.
Oh yeah.
With
Annie Aykroyd's wife. Yes,
yes.
we know her. We just can't remember her name.
I can't remember her name, but she was in Bosom Buddies.
Yes.
Donna Dixon.
Donna Dixon.
Thank
Yeah.
you. God bless you. So sweet. And Melanie someone. Anyway, great girls. And Faye Dunaway was great the first meeting.
You're so classy.
Thanks. Not always, but thank you.
So everyone is wondering how you got the role in Back to School. I mean, it was an audition, yes.
Yes. And I did not know Rodney Dangerfield was going to be in the room, and I did not recognize him at first because he had snow white hair. And I lived across from Dangerfield's in New York in this weird little studio apartment in an old laundry building they turned into apartments. Super weird, strange shape. But anyway, I sat down and I was like, I can't breathe. I was so nervous. Like, I'm so sorry. I'm really nervous, and I think my voice just kept climbing. I'm just so excited to meet you. I didn't know you were going to be here because...
Hey, that's okay, honey. I'm nervous too.
How nervous are you?
How nervous are you?
Just enough, yeah.
He didn't even have that. He was like...
He was just a normal guy.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't call him
No,
normal.
he didn't use the affectation.
No,
yes.
he didn't use the affectation. He was very down to earth, super nice, very patient, and another one of those where, and I had this experience with Dax too. It's like every part I've gotten, well, other than the ones I've been offered, but it tends to be that I'm so excited and nervous to get it because I really, really want it. And then I end up getting it, and it had nothing to do, they don't care about whether you're nervous. They care about seeing that you're being real and you're trying, you're not trying to cover that you're nervous, right? So what was great was the director, his wife was taller than he was. So that I was taller than Keith Gordon, they didn't care. They thought it was cute, they thought it was sweet. And so that definitely worked in my benefit. And I didn't realize my nerves and my voice going up really served the character they wanted me to play. It was endearing, because I was Valerie Desmond, and she's very not aware of how attractive she was.
That's man's dream.
Thank you. Yeah, my first husband was sorely mistaken when he married me and thought I was her. I shouldn't say that, but we're in a great place, the two of us now. We really are. But I really do think he thought I was not quite as capable.
Well, that's your super strength.
Yeah.
That's your power.
Is that I'm capable?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
and
so.
you hide it.
I hide it. I do, I guess.
Because you don't want to scare people.
Oh, thank you, Darren. Well, I just think that I'm smart enough to hire smart people to help me, or hire them to take care of my money, my life.
Hopefully.
Well,
so who was this guy? Who was this guy, Robert Downey Jr.?
Junior, he was super wacky then, because that was his pre-awakening. Well, we drank scotch and made out, and it was pretty great.
The scotch?
Yes, the scotch was excellent. It was just really fun. It was just a crazy time, and I got to hang out with Sally Kellerman a lot.
That's awesome.
I know. She was a really good girlfriend, because when you watch the movie, you can see that most of the time, all of us were there, but obviously not all of us are on screen, so we had a lot of downtime. Burt Young had a whole bar in his trailer.
Why does this not surprise me?
Yeah, right? Well, I didn't partake because I was at work.
Right.
And I was still the girl from Iowa, afraid to break any rules.
Oh,
Yeah,
that changed eventually, didn't it?
eventually.
But how fun was that movie? Because when we
So
watch
much
it,
fun.
it seems like it was a ton of fun.
It was. It really was. It just
Shakespeare
was.
for everybody.
Yeah. He used to come to my trailer in the morning with his bathrobe on and knock on my door and tell me a joke. And the only one I remember, because I was just so flattered that he was coming to, and he was married, he wasn't doing a weird anything. It was just really sweet, because he knew I was nervous and he knew I was a big fan. And the one that I remember is, he goes, "Hey kid, hair today, gone tomorrow." That's on his toupee. But he was always in this bathrobe. It was hilarious.
Well, I've heard stories about him and his bathrobe that didn't have that happy ending. Let's just say,
Really?
yeah.
I probably would, I'm not surprised. And it was a different time. So it's easy for us to be, you know what, we've progressed.
Yeah.
Let's keep doing that.
Speaking of progressing, I'm sure a lot of you have questions for dear Terry. If you could line up in front of the microphone over there, we can take you one at a time. If you can possibly limit your questions to something that can be answered fairly quickly, we'll be able to get through all of you. So,
Oh, that'd be great.
go right ahead.
Also, I have ADHD, so if you describe too much before you ask the question, I'll be gone and I'll have to ask you what the question is again.
Well, hello, it's nice to see you. My name is Theo.
Hi, Theo.
I think that all of us have our own reason for loving the characters you've played and you yourself. But I would just love to hear a couple of your own thoughts about what you enjoyed about the character Dax and what she meant to you, the impact that she had, or even how your relationship with her changed over the years.
It might take me a second to answer this one. I think Dax is, I think why I liked her is it was something, the idea of playing her amazing and iconic character. You could even tell just from the first description of living 350 years, being a man and a woman. I always felt like I was really balanced on my masculine feminine side, which was a big thing, is how we used to describe it in the 70s. And because I was athletic, tall, a big sister, so, you know, I did kick a couple bullies' asses for my little sister. And I say little only because she's shorter than me, because she's really only 13 months younger than me. But really, Dax is the best version of me, the highest version of myself. And that was easier to play than it was to live. And I think as an adult, I've always, since playing her, always aspired to get back or to get to that highest self. I had to go through a lot of lessons in life that took me off course, but I feel like I'm back on course again. And it makes my soul feel filled to play her, to see myself playing her, watching it back on the Delta Flyers journey through the wormhole. I'm really proud of it. I'm so grateful to the writers that they wrote me the way that they did, so that I had the opportunity to be her. And I feel like she's the closest thing to love. If that's just the one word I can describe, I want my life to be love, acceptance. Ira Bear told me once that she is Star Trek. She is everything that Star Trek's supposed to be. Accepting, loving, compassionate, forgiving. She is Star Trek. So that, and I have goosebumps as I'm saying that, is such a huge honor, and I hope I can live up to it.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Theo.
Great question.
In Deep Space Nine, there's much chemistry between Dax.
I'm sorry, can you turn that light off? That little pin light's just a little intense.
In Deep Space Nine, there's much chemistry between Dax and Siska. What's it like working with Avery Brooks?
Oh, wow, the first scene I had with Avery, thank you, that's a good question. First scene I had with Avery, we were in the science lab, David Carson's directing, and I had to one-up him with the old man. I can't remember what I said to him, but he called me old man, and I had to kind of raise the intensity. And I had to pull him aside and say, Avery, I'm so sorry, I need your help. I mean, I'm just a 28-year-old, and I'm kind of struggling with this, and you're so powerful, I can't one-up you. Can you help me out? And I think that he really, I know he respected, but it felt so brave to say that to him, and I felt so vulnerable. I really appreciated that he appreciates the honesty, and that's the kind of man he is, and how he really then felt like a mentor. I really think he loves being a teacher, and he loves being a mentor. And he went beyond with Sirach by being a surrogate father to him. But I felt really lucky that he mentored me. So when we have scenes and I'm toe-to-toe with him, I felt safe enough to be strong and not be intimidated by him, because I was honest with him, and he would, if you allowed him to mentor you, he would put you to the task and expect a lot from you, and it was great.
Thank you for answering my question.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you. Thank you for the question.
Hi Terry, my name's Rick. It's a pleasure to meet you at your table.
Thank you, Rick.
I love you as Dax, but I just wanted to ask how do you feel about your character on Becker for 4 seasons?
Oh, golly. Well, I was destroyed when they let me go, because I was feeling like I was finally feeling super comfortable in the half-hour world. That was a big adjustment. I loved Reggie, but I never thought I would miss Dax, but playing a neurotic character was really different than playing a hero. And I had to get used to a completely different format, different way of working. But it was exciting. It was so exciting. And because of doing conventions, actually having the audience of 200 people, that didn't faze me at all. But changing lines and getting the timing for the comedy, that was challenging, but challenging in an inspiring kind of way, right? So I loved it. I really loved it. I would have kept doing it.
Yeah, and I didn't watch after you were off the show, so.
Oh, you get extra points.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Afternoon, Ms. Farrell.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for coming to San Jose for our very first GalaxyCon.
Yes.
It's
Don't they do a good job?
They do.
They do. Love Mike Broder shows, yeah.
And this is my first opportunity to see you in any of the conventions I've been to. In all these, I've been going to conventions, so it has been an extreme pleasure to meet you.
Thank you. Do you have a question?
My question is, it's a what-if question. Now that Paramount Plus is winding down their animated series, Lower Decks, if Paramount Plus decides to come back with a new animated series, what would you think about coming on as a voice artist?
Oh, 100%. I know it wouldn't even, yeah, don't have to think about it. Of course.
I think you should take it.
Okay. How much are you paying me?
I'll let my people talk to you over here.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was good. That was good.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Oh, we're done on time?
All right then.
Wow.
Well, I just want to say thank you to Terry Farrell for being so lovely and kind and
Thank you.
sweet and all those things. And I want to remind the rest of you, if you haven't already bought your tickets for William Shatner doing a live commentary with the Treksperts on Star Trek V tonight at 4:30.
Wow.
In the main stage.
So this afternoon?
It's this afternoon at 4:30. I say tonight because it's been a long day. But please buy a ticket. There is a tier that is very cheap. So join us, and it's going to be a hoot. That's a saying from Cedar Rapids.
A hoot? It's a hoot.
So thank you everybody for joining us.
Thank you.
We're gonna take the standard GalaxyCon selfie with Terry in the foreground and everyone in the background. So,
I love you
thank you.
guys. Thank you for being my fans. You make my life a better place. I mean it.